I'll put it this way, like, many of you know, you're all well aware of the current series of events. I guess that's a nice way to put it, right? I figure here's what we're gonna do. Like, we're gonna cover this stuff. We're sort of gonna, in a way, expose the people involved who levied these allegations. And then that'll be it. Like, I never want to do this again. I never want to, like, discuss drama or comrades being attacked. It's not why I got into streaming. I got into streaming to have fun. I got into streaming to build a small bean community that's wholesome and fun and, as I always say, like a communist Twitch. You have Kansas Surge on your floor. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Falcon. It is... Listen, this is the anti-VTuber room. It is... Let me just... Before we get into this, let me just do this. Look, it's anti-VTuber. It is the trashiest room imaginable. Just anime and communism and EverQuest in the background and Danny DeVito pillows. It's lovely. I love it. No, I did not add more posters, sadly. But yeah, I guess the other thing, a heads up, I am over Wi-Fi, so if my connection drops, that'll suck. So we'll see. Here at the Airbnb, it's like I'm relying on Wi-Fi. I don't have a wired connection. That ICP poster, yes, Carnival Carnage, it's good stuff. But so I figure we'll get into this. Again, the only reason why I'm doing this in this sense, like doing this sort of stream, a kind of stream I did not want to do, is just to sort of address it publicly, put it to rest, and move the fuck on. And that's what we're gonna do tonight. And we'll start with the initial one, right? We'll start with what kicked all of this off. And this was the initial thing. Alright? And I'm not gonna censor out those who accused us, because they've already made a shit show of this, so fuck them. What I would say up front before we really dive into this, though, is obviously don't bother these people, don't harass these people, don't communicate with these people, don't associate with these people, because what they did to myself, my comrades, and my community is disgusting. And for them to run with a false assumption and levy slander says a lot about the kind of people we're dealing with, and says a lot about their personalities, right? These are not communists. There's no fucking way you're gonna call yourself a communist and you run with a false assumption and not understand the context behind said screenshots down here. So from Antimonian Arts, they said, "You may notice I booted some people here. They all have close affiliation with the RSVG server. I would highly discourage you from associating with them, because I found out the owner, right, not being Wasea, is friends with figures like Caleb Maupin, and open about that fact. He is not friends with Caleb Maupin. He was interviewed by Caleb Maupin. Being interviewed by someone doesn't mean you're friends. Being interviewed by somebody doesn't mean you endorse the interviewer's views or whatever. Commander Red, aka the owner, Wasea Whitebird, is seen here as a guest on his show. Valkyrie, me, shown here being very enthusiastic." And it's like, yeah, I'm not enthusiastic about Caleb, but I was enthusiastic about Wasea being interviewed, because at that time he won city council and he was being interviewed by everybody. And obviously when you have a friend who wins city council as an open communist, wouldn't you be excited that they get exposure? Wouldn't you be excited that they're getting interviewed by people? It wasn't necessarily like a specific Maupin thing, right? And then on the right side, you see this is a party member named Dylan. I forgot that last name, but he lives in China. He lives abroad, and we were excited that he was featured on there as well. But as Annie goes on here with these things, Annie says, "The tendencies of nationalism, LaRouche, and Pat Socks are antithetical to this community and very dangerous. Would not recommend any further contact with these folks. Everything's all settled now, but be wary of suspicious DMs going around at this time from former members, and make sure to report them to me should you get them. So, none of us are Pat Socks. This is the biggest misunderstanding, the biggest, dumbest thing I've seen since high school. I'm not even gonna lie. This is them screenshotting this, right? And running with the false assumption that we're all Pat Socks. I don't know how a server can be full of Pat Socks when we all advocate land back and decolonization. A lie, more like. Exactly, Barrick. Exactly. So we're talking about a server full of militant people, right? And don't get me wrong, declared you and SP, nice going L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, but I don't know how you take someone like me and say, yep, Valkyrie's a Pat Sock, when I have countless people to vouch for me. I take issue with this. If this was just targeted at me, I would obviously dispute it, but I wouldn't be as bothered. I'd be like, okay, it's a personal attack, whatever. But it was an attack on my comrades. I've known Wasaya for a couple of years. I've known Leaping Larry for a couple of years. Not super well, but I learned a lot about the DPRK from Leaping Larry and his Juche Gang channel. And I've always respected him as a comrade. He's part of the Red Star Vanguard community. And, you know, the thing with RSVG, we've had people come and go over the years, right? People join the server, they leave the server. Normally when someone leaves, we don't care, but it's suspicious when someone leaves and suddenly the people who left are blocking you and not communicating with you, not giving you a reason, not even having any sort of open discussion, and rather they're taking a very colonial attitude to all of this, which we will get into. But very much a lie, very much bullshit. Not even a communication. Like, I said from the start, if they came to us and simply said, hey, Valk, we've seen this in the server, like, what's up with this? Like, you're not a Pat Sock, right? Like, what's the context with the situation? There would have been no problem. This whole thing would have been avoided en masse. Like, none of this would have been an issue. But they decided to double down on a false assumption. So what turned out as a small misunderstanding has evolved into people showing ass and really showing their true colors. So we'll move on to the next screenshot here. Now this goes on to another settler sort of person here. Because they're and everyone is going to see the running trend of not investigating. Yeah, and they have I'm not going to get into too much details of their ongoing trends here with this stuff. Simply because, you know, there's some people who are involved in some past stuff and they don't wish to, you know, really discuss it openly or anything, and that's fine. I respect that. But this is a running trend. They've done, and oddly enough, most of the people they target in the past have been people of color. So what that tells me is there is a racist settler mindset at play here. And one of them involved in this is indigenous. But being indigenous does not make you immune to a colonial mindset or a settler attitude. And we'll get to that shortly as well. But this was from Clever, and basically they said, well, it looks like you've been blocked. I did not block anybody preemptively, for the record. At the very least, passively. Yeah. But I didn't block anybody preemptively. Literally what happened was, you know, Nico, who's also involved in this, Nico Girl, essentially, you know, turned around and left our server, which is fine. Like I said, people come and go. But blocked me, left multiple discords we were in together. What sparked that sort of alarm was I had a friend years ago isolate themselves in a similar manner where they blocked everybody. They left a bunch of discords and, you know, sadly they're no longer with us. And that was sort of my first worry when all this was unfolding, because I thought, oh no, this person's like, something's going on here. This isn't good, right? But I didn't block anybody preemptively. After finding out the fact and trying to reach out and trying to communicate and clear this up, and no one was giving me any sort of response, then yeah, I blocked people. Because why am I going to want to, communicate with anyone who's doubling down on bullshit? So, Comrades Clever says, well, it looks like you've been blocked. Well then, apparently the server she shilled was owned by LaRouchites. And she knew about it. Who? Who are the LaRouchites? Who owns it? Again, if you're trying to say Wasaya is a LaRouchite, you're fucking dead wrong. Stupidly wrong. So much so it's destroyed your credibility. It's destroyed your credibility, and you nuked your Twitch channel in the process because word got around about this bullshit. We'll get into that too soon. I also don't exactly take kindly to messaging someone who's, blocked you. Should be a hint to stop talking to them. Very weird and invasive. Yeah, very weird to make these assumptions to begin with, but okay. Thanks, Clever. You mind if I share your friend's screenshots? Yeah, you mean Nico's screenshots because she's a fucking weirdo who goes into a server, digs something up out of the blue, no context, and tries to spread slander? Sure, share the screenshot. So with say a Whitebird, she uses air quotes like that's not his name, is a guy called Comrade Commander Red. He is a LaRouche orbiter, and she has been funneling people into the server ran by this guy. What kind of, disconnected attitude is this? Is this really the fucking kind of attitude? Is this how people speak? This is a self-proclaimed communist, right? A self-proclaimed communist, and this is their attitude. This is how they talk. I don't think they're a self-proclaimed communist, though. I think they're a grifter, especially with slogans like build new culture, which I find very, very colonial. What are you building your new culture on top of? Are you trying to erase indigenous culture in the process of building new culture? What the fuck's up with that? We'll get into that shortly as well. The whole time she's been around, pretending to care about Patsocks, but this is her best buddy. Amazing. This is the most disingenuous shit I've ever seen. And trust me, word has spread about these folks. People are aware. A lot of streamers are aware. These people have, they have killed their credibility. It's no wonder Clever and Vera nuked their Twitches, nuked their Twitters. Twitter's a given though. I think most people are moving away from Twitter. But they nuked their Twitches. They've left servers I was in because word spread. When you're attacking BIPOC comrades, people are not going to be happy about it. And that's kind of what they've done. So this is the disingenuous shit. And they wouldn't even communicate with me, mind you. They wouldn't say, hey, Valk, we've seen these screenshots. What's up with that? Yeah, our boy. Yes, of course I put our boy. That was Wasaya being interviewed. I was happy about that. But again, they take that as, I'm happy about Wasaya being interviewed to, I'm somehow pro-Moppin, pro-Patsock nonsense. And that Wasaya is some sort of LaRouche orbiter, which is so fucking weird. So this one was from Annie. And they said, fun times, you'll notice I just dinged Merritt today. This is why. This talking is a very big no-no here. Moppin was problematic in 2020, and Patsocks did exist in 2020. As early as 2018, Moppin is seen as a publicly archived video next to famous Russian far-right philosopher and anti-communist Dugin, where he uncritically sucks them off for 20 minutes and then identifies him as Duginist. I'm going to be completely honest, and I'm being transparent when I say this. I didn't know he's a fucking Duginist. Not in 2020. Because I'm not sitting online all day fucking researching a specific figure. I have a fucking life. I organize. I don't have time to sit online, terminate online, and look at every little fucking video of that time regarding Moppin. If I knew he was a Dugan then, yeah, I would have said fuck him. And if I seen the signs that he was anti-land back and, anti-decolonization, I would have said fuck him way back then too. But I didn't know this. I don't sit online all day researching these fucks. None of these motherfuckers were paying attention when me and Shane were pointing this shit out in like 2015. And I wish I seen it. Like, I wish I seen you pointing this stuff out way back when. But then again, I wasn't even on social media in 2015. Like, I had a Facebook, but that was about it. You know. So, this is one of those things that's like, okay, yeah, that's shitty. He's a far-right philosopher. Like, he believes in Dugan. Fuck him. Maupin's also anti-trans. Fuck him. Like, there's no one defending Maupin here. But, again, pulling this out and being like, well, I must have known. I must have been okay with it. No, and we didn't know each other, Falcon. Like, I knew Wasaya in, what? I didn't meet Wasaya until, like, 2019, right? Like, early 2019. Late 2018, maybe early 2019, around there. So there, but hypothetically, if I was in a situation where I would have known, well then, no harm, no foul. Would have saved me a lot of freaking headache. And said, Patsock's AE patriotic socialism is a nationalist tendency which emerged from Browderism in the U.S. during World War II and infamously makes excuse for U.S. imperialism among other fun types of bigotry. Yeah. Ends? Like, yes, it's shitty, Annie. We get it. Are you trying to imply I'm a Patsock? This is ridiculous. Extending from this, Mayor proceeded to play devil's advocate on Valkyrie's behalf in my DMs. I hope you can understand why this is unacceptable behavior and why I take it very seriously. This is when I left social media when Adam Wolfen started looking for me. Oh shit. That's serious stuff. So Merritt was someone who actually, like, is an adult and, didn't buy into their bullshit and essentially said, hey, can I ask something? I just noticed a screenshot from Valk is like 3 years old. When Caleb wasn't even problematic, nor Patsocks existed. Did someone even talk to her about it? Like in 2020, I didn't even use Twitter, but by the time I started using it, I remember how Caleb and others were popular and unproblematic. And, that's essentially, that's the extent, right, of what's shown here. And it's like, good on Mara D for, like, not being terrible like these people and actually, I don't know, questioning what's in front of them, questioning flimsy evidence in front of them. More people should have, again, if people just came to me or went to Wasaya or even put in the main, even if they did it publicly in the RSVG channel and said, hey, we found this, what's up with this? Like, this all could have been avoided, but here we are, right? But Merritt D's a real comrade. Merritt D was like, I'm gonna question this flimsy evidence because it doesn't seem right. Okay, and this we'll get into a little bit here. Here's Annie implying I'm a neo-Nazi, right? So I'm allegedly a neo-Nazi because I'm a Norse pagan, right? So Annie goes on to say, also, I mean, that was her recent rebrand. Doesn't it look kind of sus, especially in combination with this? See, one person did come to me, the person who has been clowning on Maupin for a decade, and they didn't listen to me. See, I think if someone didn't listen to you, that's an error in its own right. So this is regarding my t-shirt design, right? So I have the Volknot with 2 ravens. I can actually just pull it up here. Hold on. Okay, so this is the t-shirt design that's sus, right? I have Thor's hammer here, hammer and sickle. Just the hammer's replaced with Thor's hammer. I got some runes around here. 2 ravens representing Hugin and Mugen. And then the Volknot, right? And the style of shirt isn't like crazy or anything. The style of shirt, and we'll get into all these like symbols because there is some misconceptions. But I guess Annie wants to frame it as if I'm trying to like reclaim a swastika or something, which is ridiculous. So let's see here. This is the logo on the shirt, the logo on the t-shirt, right? Merritt goes on to talk about how, like, in Mexico, they've had like Norse metal and all the stuff there. But regarding the t-shirt, right? The design, anyone who knows professional wrestling will know this is what the design is based off of, right? I called it Valkyrie Club because, simply put, I'm a huge wrestling nerd, I'm a fan of wrestling. I thought, why not make a cool t-shirt? I could put it on my VTuber. It'll be fun. That was the whole point of it. Whole fucking point of it was just I wanted to make something like this, but for my VTuber, with my own branding. So I threw the Volknut on there. I threw the Ravens on there. One of my party comrades on social media had this awesome hammer and sickle. And I was like, alright, let's fucking go with it, right? In my opinion, nothing wrong with that. I'm a fucking pagan. Shoot me. You know, I'm an anti-fascist, anti-racist pagan. Pagans will have these symbols. Now, certain symbols I would question. If someone's walking around with the fucking Sowilo rune on its own, I would be very, very sus, right? There's nothing wrong with the Volknut at all. No, and I'm going to get into that. So this is what the shirt's based on. So I guess these are all Nazis as well. All these professional wrestlers, they all must be far-right Nazis, according to Annie's logic. If we get into the Volknut, so here's what they say about the Volknut, right? This is straight, and I will link this in chat. Oh no, definitely Falcon. 100% agree. Fuck the Sons of Odin. But this is from the Anti-Defamation League, right? We're gonna read this together, friends. Alright? Volknut, they have the different names here. The Volknut, or Knot of the Slain, is an Old Norse symbol that often represented the afterlife in carvings and designs. It is often considered a symbol of the Norse god Odin. Some white supremacists, particularly racist Odinists, have appropriated the Volknut to use as a racist symbol. Often they use it as a sign that they are willing to give their life to Odin generally in battle. Non-racist pagans may also use this symbol, so one should carefully examine it in context rather than assume a particular use of the symbol is racist. That's literally what it is. It's a symbol of Odin. And no, I don't call myself an Odinist. Like, that's a whole nother can of worms. I just consider myself a Norse pagan or a heathenist. Simple as that, right? I don't fuck with the Astaru shit, because that's a whole nother... That's where you get into the fucking gray area of nonsense. But that's it. That's what the Volknut is. It is not like a Nazi symbol, you know, but according to Annie's logic, I must be a neo-Nazi. See, and this is why I get frustrated when I share something personal about myself with people. Like, I'm not going to sit here and get into all the stuff about, like, what it means to me, right? What my paganism means to me. But it's a way for me to be connected to my culture, to understand my history. Because I'm part Norwegian, I'm part Italian, right? That's all it is. It's a personal thing. I don't go around preaching about, you know, Odin or Freya or any of the Norse gods or anything like that. It's a very personal thing to me. And I've had this problem with fucking white people in the past, right? When I've shared this stuff in the past with my partner, Viv, who's indigenous, she was nothing but supportive. I cleared up the misconceptions, I explained things to her, and she supports it. With other close friends, when I've gotten into this stuff, what my pagan beliefs are, they're supportive, right? They don't just run with a false assumption and label me something that I'm not. But when I share this with fucking white people, I don't know what it is, right? Maybe it's just the company I keep around me, but like when I share this with comrades, I have no problem. I share it with some random white fuck online I met through a streaming circle like Annie, and they fucking take the wrong idea and they run with it. And they try to label me as a Nazi, which is bullshit. And I'll be honest, that hurts, because now you're attacking my beliefs. I don't care whether someone believes in the old gods or not. That's not the point. But when someone attacks them for what I personally believe in, it's a problem. And that's been the problem with all of this, right? I share something that's personal to me. I decide to take that personal thing, work it into my rebranding, and I'm attacked for it. You know, it's funny, like, I go into like Lost Sue's streams and he's playing Viking music sometimes. He's playing videos of the Sami people out in like Norway doing their rituals and stuff, right? Stuff connected to Norse paganism. And there's no problem. But I get attacked by people I thought who would be more understanding. Like, that is what's disgusting to me. And like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm an expert on Norse paganism and I know everything. It's stuff I'm learning. It's stuff I slowly learn, right? When I came out as trans, my paganism helped me with that transition process. It helped me accept who I am. Because of the old stories of the gods, gender bending. Because of the stories of Odin, essentially transforming himself into a woman to learn the magic from the witches. Right? These are things that help me cope with my identity as a trans woman. So it's a very, again, it's not something I'm going to like go on about in future streams, but just to cover it here, it's a very personal thing to me. And to be attacked because I like that thing is disgusting. I feel like, personally, I feel like when we talk about stuff like land back and decolonization, when it comes to settler allies like myself and others, other people need to know where they fucking came from. Other people need to know whatever it is, Perhaps they're from Germany. Well, maybe they should understand Germanic paganism. If they're from Ireland, they should understand Irish paganism. You need to know your roots. You need to look beyond, at least for us who, are European descendants. We need to look beyond religions to understand where we came from. And that's a perfectly reasonable thing, I feel. Because if you don't know who you are, and you don't know where you came from or your culture, then how are you supposed to fight for a better world? Thank you, Minnie. Thank you, Simon. I love the Lokis and I love the trans flags. It means a lot. But that's the whole thing in a nutshell, right? But, I'm going to move on from this because I don't want to like dwell on it, but we'll move into some of the other stuff here. Horse, because now we're getting into famous horse. And it's important to address this. And here's the thing. I'm not going to hide my fucking VOD. My VOD is going to stay here. I'm not a coward. I stick by with what I'm saying tonight. And I will be taking this VOD and throwing it up onto my YouTube as well. And anyone who brings this shit up down the road, we will redirect them here. Simple as that, along with a mega thread detailing these events. But, you got Famous Horse with his fucking build new culture, right? That's his tagline on his merch. And I mentioned it earlier. We have to ask ourselves, what does that mean? I used to think it was like a fun thing. Like, okay, we're building like some red future sort of thing. The more I've thought about it, the more I think it's anti-indigenous and pro-colonial. Because are you suggesting you're building new culture on top of indigenous culture? That sounds like erasure to me, friends. And he plasters that shit everywhere. And I know him and Clever will come up with 1,000,001 excuses. But as far as Turtle Island is concerned, you're not building new culture. The restoration of indigenous culture is the priority. You cannot build new culture on top of that. Just like as much as I'm a pagan, I'm not going to sit and talk about building a Norse culture on Turtle Island. That's for Scandinavia, not here. But that's just my thoughts on that whole tagline. Because the more I thought about it, I hadn't considered it until this weird targeting of mostly indigenous people. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about since all this started. A history of attacking BIPOC people. This latest round, excluding myself, BIPOC comrades being targeted. So when I hear build new culture, get on the horse train, everybody, and build that new culture. What are you building? On top of what? Because my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Falcon, my understanding is when we talk about decolonization and land back, we're not talking about building something new culture-wise. We're talking about restoring the cultures of the various nations on Turtle Island. Right, on Turtle Rock Island. We're talking about restoring language, restoring traditions. We're talking about in various indigenous nations governing the land, teaching people a better way, etc. Like I apologize if I'm skipping over stuff or if I'm minimizing stuff or summarizing too much. I'm just trying to be like, not simplify it, but put it on a digestive manner, I guess you could say. Yeah, that's general. So if we're gonna quote unquote build new culture, what does that mean? That contradicts what I just said. That contradicts what I've learned from indigenous comrades. That contradicts what I've learned from the Red Nation, what I've learned from the Decolonized Buffalo podcast, what I've learned from the Red Deal, what I've learned from Red Nation Rising, what I've learned just in general reading even international theory, right? If we're looking at stuff written by comrades in the third world. This build new culture contradicts that. So it contradicts in that we can't build new on basis on colonial occupation. Yes. You know, the Koreans, when they struggled and they won their revolution, I mean, it's an ongoing revolution, but in the DPRK, they didn't go and build a new culture. Yes, they have socialist ideals and socialist goals, but they didn't erase the Korean culture. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it doesn't sit right with me. And that's something I've thought about. And again, people watching this, I would urge people, don't buy, like, I took my shirt, because I bought a horse shirt, whatever. Not the worst $30 I spent. The worst $30 I spent was probably at an Outback Steakhouse years ago. Not a story I'm going to get into right now. But I tossed it. I said, fuck this. I don't want a shirt that says build new culture, and I'm sitting here trying to fight for land back and decolonization. But now we're getting into Shane here. They specifically oriented their state ideology to eradicate Japanese and Confucianism influences. Yeah. But they preserved the Korean culture. So, with Shane, he pops in Horse's chat. Mind you, this is the second and third time this happened. Or second and third time he viewed the stream. Like, he wasn't even that active. He pops in on the 19th. Hey, Horsey in chat. Puts a little icon in there, and he's immediately banned. No explanation given. Nothing. Just banned. So now this is an attack on Shane. And again, normally, you get banned from a chat, whatever. That's not the point, though. This happened during the series of events we're dealing with right now. So, immediately, unnecessary attacks, right? Banning someone with no explanation simply because they're an RSVG, simply because they're affiliated with, like, Wasaya and myself and so on and so forth. I believe this is from you, Falcon, this particular one. Because again, we've screenshots from so many places. I mean, it pays when you have folks just, you know, essentially sitting in these spaces monitoring stuff. Shane made a public post tagging Horse, asking was it because of his fuck settles attitude, which is the lie he is referring to. Okay. So who's this fascist he's palling around with? Question mark. He showed me the screen. There's no ban reason on his end. It's probably a Twitch error if you provided one. So that's why he assumed he was banned. Who's bringing you this information that my people are LaRouchites and fascists? Like, I've talked to you for a long time, so you've seen my work, my interactions, right, from the beginning, just as like yours. Like, I'm new to Twitch. If there's a fascist in my chat or something, fucking tell me so I can ban them too. See, this is Shane basically saying, hey, like, let's be transparent with each other. I don't want a fascist in my chat. None of us do. So, if there is one, tell me and we get rid of it, right? This is reasonable on Shane's part. Shane's just doing the right thing here. That was the simple message. He said, this is all the stuff I'm aware of. I'm really under the impression that someone wants me to fight with Horse or possibly do damage the FNI. Go down here. And then this is Horse's response. Your good friend Larry was lying about me in public, and all you notice is him getting banned from my chat. Maybe you misunderstood. I don't work for you. When those vids of your other pal with Maupin were going around, I went to you first as a favor. When you waved it off, I let it slide. This time, I checked VODs and saw what Larry was up to in public for myself. Since he's leadership in your org, you're obviously weak and your org is fucking compromised as fuck. I'm getting off this train wreck, man. We're done. Never said he worked for me ever. I know. It's what is Larry up to? Because all I know about Larry is he just dunks on folks. Like, that's what he does. He dunks on settlers. He defends the DPRK. He defends AES. There was never I'll put it this way: Larry, like if Larry could press button to destroy the colonial system, Larry would press button to destroy the colonial system. Like, it's wild to me that it's just, since he's leadership, he's never been leadership. You're obviously weak, and your org is compromised from what? Like, if your org is about land back decolonization and fighting against colonialism and all this stuff, what is the compromise by having the comrade who's like pro DPRK in it? This is the most disingenuous shit. And hence why, I'm talking about exposing grifters with settler attitude. No single person who considers themselves a disciplined communist would respond with this shit. Not a single fucking person. You know how you respond with this shit? When you're chasing clout. When you're a clout chaser. When your only motivation for doing what you do is money, this is your response. So here's the crazy, the fascist shit, which no one effectively notified him of, is the behavior in public in question. What? Are you kidding me? So when he dunks on settlers and talks about land back and decolonization, that's the quote-unquote fascist shit? That's ridiculous. That is not fascist stuff. That's called being a communist, friend. Oh no, I think you'll get to it later. Okay, so we'll get to Nico. We're sort of moving into that. So during this whole thing, right? Nico girl, who's someone I supported. I genuinely wanted to see them succeed and do well in streaming, and I kind of dug their aesthetic and all this. They're the ones that kind of stirred the pot with all this shit. And let me bring up, for context, let me also bring up my original tweet. Right. Now, I know was it a dumb tweet? It was a dumb tweet. Did it make someone bite the bait? It did make someone bite the bait. Oh yeah, this one. Okay. So, yes, okay. So we'll read my original tweet, then we'll get into Nico's. So I said, literally watching those who levied false allegations against me and my BIPOC comrades panic with paranoia as my ravens collect intel. Letting settlers cook in their filth while I enjoy the popcorn show. Ooh woo. Is it, okay, is it a dumb tweet? Is it like anime villain? Sure. Did it make someone bite the bait? Oh, they bit it. They took the bait and ran with it. Which is all I needed, because then that shows me they were definitely the ones to start the bullshit. Because as we over the past, 2 weeks? How long has it been? Something like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. We've been retracing steps, talking with each other, figuring out what were the series of events that unfolded, and they bit the bait. So we got Nico over here. I mean, I could care less whether they blocked my stuff out. Is that, why do people always do the anime villain speech thing after getting banned? You're toxic, I don't want you around, and now you're sending your ravens to spy on me. Nico responds, why do people always do the anime villain speech thing after getting banned? You're toxic, I don't want you around, and now you're sending your ravens to spy on me. Also love how she pretends to care about BIPOC people, but when it's convenient, I'm no longer indigenous. I'm a settler. LOL, fuck you, grifter. Well, I never said Nico wasn't indigenous. But Nico is indigenous while upholding a settler attitude. Simple as that. Again, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the stream, you're not immune Just because you're indigenous or black or whatever, you're not immune to upholding a colonial mindset or a settler mindset or exposing or expressing those settler attitudes. No one is. Anyone could do it. And with the way they went about stuff, and we'll get into that because we're getting into a point where we had someone come forward and they wanted to act as like a mediator and we could have cleared all this up. Oh, we're going to get to your response. The one you censored, you know. And I could care less whether this was shown or not. Do not care in the slightest. When someone bans you and your friends over your bullshit, what bullshit? Saying you want to watch them panic because you've sent your ravens definitely makes the ban look bad. Well, I mean, from what we observed, people were paranoid. I don't know. I wouldn't delete my fucking Twitch account. Just saying. We've seen 2 people delete their Twitch accounts. The Twitter accounts from Clever and Vera are like, give or take. I mean, because most people I know have left Twitter. So it's like, But watching people nuke their fucking social media and then their streaming accounts, yeah, it kind of shows they're paranoid. And again, why Nico has beef with me, I have no idea. Again, was nothing but supportive. Would try to raid into her, try to send various people in my small community I've tried to send over to her, you know, just to be like, hey, go watch the streamer, because at the time before all this happened, I thought Nico was pretty chill. I like Nico. I thought their aesthetic and everything they had going on was nice. It was unique. But, you know, then they turn around and do this bullshit. So as we're getting closer to when our liaison, I should say volunteer liaison, because we didn't really seek anybody out. They volunteered to reach out to them. But as we were getting closer to that, we were getting into this. Hey, Shin, what's up? So Nico goes on to say, I've been involved with too many online communities with people who turned out to be abusers or grifters. That's why I'm mostly trying to just do art and shitpost on here. Organizing for me is an IRL thing, and I'm not into people trying to fearmonger me into making online discourse required. Well, no one's fearmongering you, Nico, but we are addressing your bullshit. I'd really like for my online experience to not be a total nightmare, and I'd like for it to not be a nightmare for people around me either. Well, with how you respond to the Falcon, I don't know how that's going to turn out for you. Poor choice of words in the upcoming screenshot from Nico. The downside is you might have to deal with grifters playing hero, browbeating you for not enabling their weird bullshit. It's a good indicator for people you don't want to be around, though. Been in a few groups like this. Remember, you can just get rid of people if they make you miserable. I don't know what I did to make her miserable. Again, this is such a weird fucking misunderstanding, but here we are, right? So this led into this. And this is from Falcon. This is the censored one, for obvious reasons, because we don't want AIM getting involved. Because Nico talks about they don't want their online presence to be a nightmare. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't want it to be either when I'm falsely accusing an AIM member of bullshit, you know. So this is where it kind of like ramps up. Because again, you know, Famous Horse and Clever and all these people involved, right? They've shown ass. They've, on a large scale, have discredited themselves. The consequences they're not going to feel immediately. That's going to be like, I think I described it as like you're a frog in boiling water, but the temperature's slowly being brought up. Like it's something they're not going to realize right away, but there's already a few streamers who are aware of the situation and have been like, yep, persona non grata, we're not going to fuck with these people anymore. Because again, when you make these false allegations and slander against myself and my community and BIPOC comrades, you essentially have discredited yourselves. You've shown ass. And that's that. What is happening? Sorry, I just joined. A lot, Shen. A lot is happening. Horse, Famous Horse, and some of the people close to him decided to attack myself and attack BIPOC comrades of mine. So we're clearing up these allegations. We're like sort of diving into it, and then once we're done with it, we're moving on, because it's not something I'm gonna like continue harping on all night. I was accused of being a pat sock because a friend of mine was interviewed by Caleb Maupin in 2020. Yeah. So I'm urging folks not to associate with or really support people who do these sorts of things. So Falcon says to Nico, you might as well clap Luna Oi, who was also interviewed by Maupin around the same time. This whole thing is disingenuous and below you. I hope you choose to speak with me about this, right? So again, Falcon trying to extend the olive branch. Like, hey, let's talk about this. Right. Nico responds, didn't you and blank have a child abuser on your podcast? Yeah, you can fuck off out of my DMs. Fuck you and your friends. So this is the response from Nico Girl. That is such an unhinged way to respond. You assume something. Again, there's a running trend of assumptions. Constantly just assuming one thing and running with it. Never investigating. We had people levy some accusations with very little basis, had weeks to admit being misled or point out the liar, refused all diplomacy. Yeah, we'll get into that too. But that's true. We tried. We really fucking tried the reconciliation route. And I really thought, like, when we tried to go that route, it would have worked out. You know, the restorative justice reconciliation route. Because if we went that route, it doesn't mean we would all have to be friends afterwards. It just means, okay, we've sort of like healed this like wound going on here, and we just go our separate ways and leave it at that. This stream wouldn't be happening if that was the case, but they didn't want to do that. So here we are. And everyone I've talked to said, go for the throat. Well, we're going for the throat. Fuck you and your friends, right? That's what's said. Who? Blank was found not guilty by 2 sets of law enforcement, tribal and settler. And that episode was taken down and still isn't up a few days after the accusations went public. Really fishing for shit, huh? You got a problem with blank, take that up with AIM. You all are sincerely unwell. Yeah, I wouldn't be well either if I was a terminally online person. Jesus Christ. Like, this is what being terminally online does to you. This is how you talk to people. You double down on bullshit, throw around accusations with little to no evidence, and act like it's truth. That's what being terminally online does to motherfuckers. You know, it's funny because through a lot of this, I was gonna just say as an aside, through a lot of this, I still managed to get club work done and attend meetings. Patsock is a bad word, I'm not familiar. It means patriotic socialist. It's the stuff Horse would go on about. Like, it's not a good thing, you know. But he and others close to him have accused myself and comrades, Red Falcon being one of them right here, of that. Despite all the stuff Horse learned about LaRouche and learned about Pat Socks was from Red Falcon here in chat. But just, you know, a settler is going to be a settler. And the minute they take knowledge from an indigenous person, they will not credit that person of learning that knowledge. And they act like they learned all that on their own.
Hi.
Hey, Viv, what's up?
By for more support.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't have your avatar on screen, sadly.
It's fine.
Okay. So that's the Nico stuff. Let's move on to the Ask Vera stuff. So Vera is someone who's closely tied to Horus. I know this because when similar allegations were levied against people in the past, I seen them band together and encircle the wagons like crazy. Hey, Meridua, what's up? Let me give you a little salute here, friends. And we're almost through with this. I don't want this to be the whole stream. I wanted my return stream to be better than fucking covering bullshit, but here we are. And mind you, Vera has since nuked their Twitch, nuked their Twitter. The Twitter, give or take, I could care less about. Why'd they nuke it? I don't know. Maybe an admission of guilt. Because I am tired of getting dragged privately into this fight, for the public record, Wasaya Whitebird is not a patsock. You do not even need to take his words at face value to recognize that he is addressing a different audience. Also, I owe Red Falcon of FNI an apology. A guy who I don't know or have ties to cold DM'd me asking for dirt on an org. I didn't think of any reason to actually investigate. All I did was carelessly skim recent activity and shut down the approach with mockery, which was a mistake. Really? You think it was a huge fucking mistake, Vera? I'll be back in a minute. I should just preemptively clarify Vera is also the only one to offer any form of apology. No, absolutely. So, with this, I give Vera credit. Vera is the one person out of all this I give any sort of credit to. It cost them dearly, though, to double down on their bullshit initially, but here we are. At least they apologized after it was all said and done. Then we got a couple more to go through. So, this is from, to clarify, this is from Jules, who goes by, was it Miss Socialista, I think, on Twitter? The story behind this is essentially they seen what was happening publicly on Twitter. They clearly seen, hey, there's a misunderstanding here. Let's try to solve this like adults. Let's try to, address this misunderstanding, clear it up, and we all move on. They reached out to Horace, Annie, and Nico in a group chat. Granted, they did this on their own, right? Like, they consulted us, but they reached out to us about being a sort of like liaison, right, in this whole situation to fix the misunderstanding and just move on. Because like I said, even if we went the reconciliation route, I still would not associate with these fucking people, because for people to double down on bullshit like this and to take the route they took, it pretty much tells me they are not serious people at all. They are not communists. They are simply LARPers and grifters at the end of the day, because they did no investigation, thus they have no right to speak. So Jules goes on to say to them, all that you all, that we are all comrades, not enemies. You're invited to bring anyone you would like to these dialogues. If it gives you reassurances that you have spectators to validate how our dialogue went, however, we ask that dialogues remain respectful and that we don't talk over each other, but hair out each other's versions of the sequence of events which led to this misunderstanding. Because Jules is also an adult. Jules, I think, is a serious communist. Because they took the correct route here. They tried to go the route of, let's bury the hatchet, let's clear up the misunderstandings and move on. And I commend them for that. Also go follow them on, well, if you still have a Twitter, go follow them. They have some good posts. But I hope you're all having a great night, and I apologize again for jumping into your DMs like this randomly. I hope something good can come from all of this. Alright? Pretty sensible message. Wouldn't you say, Viv?
I muted myself, but yeah, absolutely.
Pretty sensible, right? This is called reconciliation. This is how you go about this. Go to the next one. It says, I will not bring any of them in unless it is agreed by all of you, and I will respect whatever you want to do. I just ask that you read the statement and give it some thought. And this is a statement that we all collectively thought was reasonable. It says, to Animonian Arts, Nico Girl, and Famous Horse, and others of you to whom it may concern, I, Wasaya, Shane, Red, Falcon, Valkyrie, and several others have been trying to seek dialogue about a matter we firmly believe we have been falsely accused of. We have tried reaching out to Animonian Arts, we have tried reaching out to Nico Girl 5781, and we have tried reaching out to Famous Horse, but to little effect to little effect to present beyond an alias of Ask Vera, who had come forward and acknowledged their misunderstanding. Oh, it's fine, Falcon. I think we all had a lot going on. It was a wild, between stuff we all do IRL and this bullshit. I think most of us were kind of like half paying attention to things and gathering what we could when we could and whatnot. Though she has since deleted her Twitter and disappeared from Discord, with her disappearance, her assurances to bring someone in to clear these misunderstandings, which I think is a screenshot I might have missed, but essentially Vera was saying they weren't going to be that active on their Discord and they will have a liaison come forward or something. Like it was supposed to be like a Discord chat originally, And that's how we were gonna, like, supposed to bury it, but none of that happened. We don't wish to draw out a very simple misunderstanding to any end that isn't about healing. However, accepting slander is something which neither I, Wassail Whitebird, Shane, Lawrence, Pick, Red Falcon of FNI, a Valkyrie of the North, or among many others can nor will tolerate. Exactly. Why would we just accept the slander and keep our mouths shut? Like, y'all fucked with the wrong people here. That's the simple fact. Like, I think they thought with their past antics that they could target us, and that'll be that, and we would all just be like, oh well, we're isolated. No, we're a tight community, and we made word spread fast, yo. Like, so many people caught wind of this, and so many people are angry right now. It's not even funny. We can give you assurances and receipts that we are all on the same page when we say that Caleb Maupin is a LaRoucheite chauvinist who clings to the legacy of the settler colonial imperialist state that is the United States of America, and with him carries a great deal of right-wing opportunism. Assuming we all agree on that statement, we really urge you to have dialogue about this matter so that we can clear these misunderstandings and put this behind us. Many of us are involved within reputable communist organizations along the local, foreign, international, indigenous movements ranging across various struggles for LGBTQIA plus rights, anti-imperialism, indigenous rights, healthcare, housing, among other struggles for various rights. So we believe you really should not be having these kinds of misunderstandings, as it hurts us all collectively, since we all know we all support these beliefs. Please accept this offer of dialogue and give us the opportunity to show you all that we are comrades, not enemies. You're invited to bring anyone you would like to these dialogues if it gives you a reassurance that you have spectators to validate however a dialogue went. However, we ask that our dialogues remain respectful and that we don't talk over each other, but we hear each other out and each other's versions of events that led to this misunderstanding. So yeah, this is pretty much when we were trying to go the reconciliation and restorative justice route. Again, this is something Wasaya recommended. Obviously, I still respect that decision. I thought it was a great decision. And I was really hoping that we would have cleared up this misunderstanding, that we could have addressed everything and had a discussion. Maybe even a couple of laughs. Right? Over, wow, what a dumb misunderstanding. And then just go our separate ways. And this stream wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be dunking on these people like we are now. But we are. Because they chose not to go that route. Meaning they chose to uphold the colonial mindset. We tried the proper route. You know, I had a few other folks outside of those involved in this say, yeah, a reconciliation route's not a bad idea. And here we are. Did not work. They did not accept. They doubled down on their bullshit. So with that being said, this is from Jules. Horse left. Nico left. No responses. That is the most colonial mindset you can have. You have this opportunity. We can clear all this up and you just leave. That does not look good. I would say this to these folks right now. That does not look good on you. Y'all really fucked up. You really, really fucked up. Like, you've killed your credit. Like, what credit do you have left? What authenticity do you have left except chasing numbers and chasing money? If your response to all of this is to double down on a settler attitude, I don't know what to tell you. That's some yike shit for me, friends. Because if the roles were reversed, I would want to like try to come to an understanding here and not take this childish route. And then, again, from Jules, Nico Girl 5781 blocked Jules. Horse blocked Jules. Annie blocked Jules. This is the attitude of these people. So when I talk about these people have settled attitudes, that's not a dig. That's not an opinion. That's just a fact, because they're on display. This is what a settler attitude looks like. You have, again, excluding myself because I'm a settler ally, but you have BIPOC comrades saying, hey, let's go the restorative justice and reconciliation route. And they're met with this. I don't know. Seems pretty settler to me. Seems like some folks still have a colonial mindset and they don't want to address it. They don't want to do anything about it. Instead, they'd rather double down because they're all fucking grifters at the end of the day. And we'll get into 2 tweets here by Red Falcon. So Falcon put out, still waiting on 5, as many as 8 people to come clean about a campaign of slander directed at one current and one former member of FNI, who's no longer a member because they no longer live on territory. Some have decided to nuke their entire known social media presence. Yeah. Because they showed ass. I said it. Here's the thing with a grifter. A grifter will say all the right words you want to hear. They'll say, oh yeah, I read this, I did that, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to the wire for something like this is when they show ass. And these people, Famous Horse, Comrade Clever Name, Ask Vera. Well, okay. We'll leave Vera out. Vera did apologize. So, Famous Horse, Comrade Clever Name, Animonian Arts, and those close to them all showed ass. Time and time again, they had opportunity to clear up this misunderstanding, and they fucked with the wrong people. And they've completely discredited themselves. Because again, I don't chase numbers. I'm not doing this for money. I appreciate when I make money off streaming, but that's not my motivation. So I'm in a better position than someone relying on streaming to make money. And when you're chasing numbers, and you're doing content just because that gets you the views, and that gets you the subbies, guess what? You are compromised. You can no longer sit there and call yourself a communist and say you're disciplined and you're this and that, because now you're compromised yourself. And when you compromise yourself, you display this sort of bullshit behavior. We await your apology in the name of whoever it was that organized this and misled you, as we identified similar campaigns of slander, harassment, and isolation regarding others who are not members of FNI and believe the organizer must be removed from our collective communities. Yeah, because there's a fucking trend here. That's what we found through our investigation. All these people, Horse, Clever, Animonian Arts, and those close to them, have a history of targeting BIPOC people and slandering them and spreading misinformation and trying to isolate them. You know, and we'll go on here and then I'll finish my thought. So far, one has apologized, which was Vera. And again, credit to Vera for apologizing. Which means the remainder are aware of the lie and have not made an effort to correct their mistake or expose the originator of the lie in question. Which is Nico, because again, we further found out Nico was the one who spread the lie initially. The one that apologized was Ask Vera TV, and they have since joined some others in deleting their accounts. Per my conversations with Vera, this was pre-planned and not regarding their admittance of being misled regarding the slander of one former and one current FNI member. Some others did this preemptively to avoid consequences of their actions. Yes, because they're cowards. All of them are fucking cowards. Here's a cool poll that Red Falcon ran. Do you think manufacturing a narrative about someone, digging into their past, being unable to find anything to support your narrative because your narrative is false, moving on to an auxiliary target, repeat, moving on to an auxiliary target, repeat, is record behavior? Out of 41 people, they said, yeah, it's record behavior. Does it sound like the behavior of a LaRouche/other cultists or legitimate communists? 95% said LaRouche or other cultists. And I said, people really out here doing this shit. It's wild. And that's the end of the screenshots. All right. And that's sort of the entirety of the events. So again, I would say this. Or do you have anything to say, Viv? Do you have anything to add before we move on here?
Hi.
Hey, do you have anything to add before I wrap up? No? Nothing? Okay. So, this is the way I look at this, right? These are dangerous people. These are toxic people. These are people I would not want in my circles. But these are dangerous people. These are toxic people. Should I ask Horse about this? Because I want to know their side too, as a viewer of both streams. That's up to you, Shin. Because Horse is not opening, he's not communicating openly. When we tried to extend an olive branch so we can openly discuss this and have reconciliation, he did not want it. So Why is he doubling down on bullshit? I don't know. That's up to you. Like, I have no, you know, I have like no beef or quarrels with you, Shin. That's on you on what you want to do. I would say I strongly urge people not to bother with people like Famous Horse or Comrade Clevername or Anemonian Arts, because my view is if they did this to us, right? Imagine what they're going to do to others down the road. That's how you have to look at this. And they have a history of attacking BIPOC comrades. So what's next? Who are they going to attack next? Who are they going to go after next? What are they going to take from somebody that's out of context and try to isolate them and slander them? Check Horse's donation history. I was consistently one of his top donors. I wouldn't be scuttling someone I financially contributed to, and on a personal level, treated like family if they hadn't wronged people. Yeah, I'm not a numbers chaser, right? I did not get into streaming to do this sort of shit that I'm doing right now. And after tonight's stream, we're never touching this shit again. Because I like to have fun. I like to watch dumb videos and comment and talk about wrestling and talk about games and just have fun. But here we are. I don't trust these fucking people. These are, to me, people that do this stuff is dangerous. Why are they dangerous? Because when people double down on a settler colonial mindset, that's dangerous to me. That's a red flag to me. And I do not want to see them in other spaces. There have already been people who removed them from spaces. There are people who are already aware that if any of these people join these spaces, they will be removed from these spaces. And again, I'm not naming names simply because, well, it would be unfair to put them into this as well. Sometime we got to chat about vampires going into space. Exactly, Simon. That's the kind of stream I'd rather do.